Hi there. The next video will be in a couple parts. First part is just going to focus on some issues that runners commonly have and also walkers, and especially these days when many people are typically walking, maybe doing some light jogging, just because we can't get into clubs these days. And so we are resorting to other forms of exercise. So part one will focus on some of the common issues, but also some of the basics. And then in part two, which will be a separate video, I'll just focus on some of the beneficial common poses we use in yoga that help people who want to walk and maybe jog a lot. Typically, running is just a different form of of walking, and walking, of course, is low impact because our feet are one foot is our both feet are always in contact with the surface. Where in higher impact, usually there's 1 foot off the ground and 1 foot on the ground. So the first part of this is to kind of give us or you an awareness of what you feel when you're walking and some of the things that we can do to help improve the functionality of our bodies when we do walk. So really what happens within your body consider what happens in your body when you're either running or walking. So typically there's a little bit of rotation within our spine. There's some movement in our pelvis, and of course there's a lot of movement of our legs and some in our arms. So to help us with those various forms of movement, some beneficial yoga poses or things we do would be some of the spinal twists, some of the side bends, and then some of the basic poses as far as focusing on how our legs are moving relative to within our pelvis. We don't get a lot of pelvis shift or kind of wonky movements going on. So first of all, let's focus on where we all start when we're walking or jogging. These good old feet. So it's important to kind of really take care of our feet, of course. And probably a lot of us at one time or another, including myself, have felt what we call plantar fasciitis. If you felt it, you know about it, you'll really know about it when you get up in the morning and you can hardly walk. And to help kind of condition our feet, there's a number of things we can do. First of all is a simple massage of our feet. And let me see if I can reposition this. So what I mean by massage of our feet is just taking a moment to come here and find a comfortable position, of course, but to then kind of get your hands and fingers into the soles of your feet. And you can really kind of explore, kind of go around, and it's really just what I consider a self-massage of your feet. Kind of loosen up some of that fascia there. And give your feet a good massage. So really putting your thumb on the various areas on the bottom of your foot and kind of pressing in and just kind of massaging your feet. consider how many times a day do we massage our feet? Probably not very many at all. So that is one good place to start. So I'm going to just kind of switch sides, go over to my other foot, and you begin to notice some of the differences because there are differences in each of our bodies on each side. We're never perfectly symmetrical. So I'm just massaging along the bottom and sole of my foot, just pressing my thumb in there. Another useful thing, though we don't typically think about it, is our toes. And a lot of times you could find online or different places what they call toe spacers. Now, if you notice, usually our toes are just squinched together. And a lot of times when you just put your fingers kind of between your toes and kind of spread them out, it kind of helps your toes as far as how they are working in our feet. I didn't bring it today, but there's a thing I have that I actually put between my feet, kind of toe spacers. So on this other side of my foot, kind of massage it in. And then also, take a moment, you can just kind of place your fingers between your toes. You'll find it's kind of challenging many times just to get those fingers in there because our toes are usually squished together in our shoes. Okay, another way we can condition or take care of our feet is a good old tennis ball. Now you've seen me use this before, kind of reference it, where if we stand up, let's see if we get this, and we could just move along, again, the soles of our feet. Massaging. Same time, don't let your whole body tension up. Just kind of breathe easily and just kind of do that massage with a tennis ball. And then you could just simply switch sides. Be sure to get a good work and massage of those feet. Now, for some people who have been doing that for a long time, you may see these little things that they have in fitness stores or running places. These actually have little bumps, as you can see on this ball, and that kind of stimulates the feet a little bit more. Of course, there's not a lot of give to it, and you can kind of move it along the various arches of your foot there, meaning between the ball of your foot, the base of the pinky toe, and then going back to the center of your heel. So it really kind of works in a deeper massage into the foot. Now, we're not trying to put ourselves into pain or discomfort. It's merely conditioning that fascia, plantar fascia, along the bottom of our feet. So another thing related to the plantar fascia, well, is a lot of times you'll find if that's the case, we also have issues with tight calf muscles because then they have a connection into our feet here. And so my famous pose that I like to do a lot on my own, which I find very useful but kind of relaxing in many ways, is that legs up the wall pose. Let me get on my mat here. And we'll just spend a few minutes exploring that. So let's remember in that one, we don't have to be real close to the wall, but we want to be in a place where our pelvis is comfortably resting on the mat or the floor. So we're not lifting or elevating the pelvis. We simply lay back, let the leg bones just settle into the hips. Just breathe easy, kind of relax a bit. What you can do to help release the hips a bit is just simply cross your ankle over and just let it slide down the leg without forcefully pushing or pressing down. Just let it fall to where it can and just hold that position for a little while. Just breathe and let the hips, let your back, and let your body and mind just kind of settle down. So once you've done that for a while, simply move the leg up, uncross. Now in doing this movement, we want to keep this leg bone as the only mover in the hip. So we're not shifting the weight around, we're not lifting up off the mat, we're just simply crossing over and letting that ankle slide down. And you could actually do this for a little longer than I'm doing here in this video. These are just some of the basics that you can use just to help your body let go of some of the stress and slide back up. Now, a nice stretch in the calves with your legs up the wall are what we call heel presses. That's where we're going to flex the feet, press up to the soles of our feet, and then just release. So flex the feet, press into the heels, and then release. Doing a series of these, then, we'll get that benefit of a nice stretch into your calf. Heel presses. But also a nice stretch for our shins, because we don't really do a lot of stretching for the shins. It's simply pointing the toes away and release. So you can kind of do them together, or you can do them separately. Point toes and release. Toe points and release. We don't want to pulse them quickly, but just take our time, breathe, and just pulse. Of course, there's a relationship between our feet, those muscles in our calves and shins, that even then have an influence as to what's going on in those good old knees. So one other area to kind of keep in mind that we use a lot, of course, what's that primary muscle that's involved in walking and running or jogging, is those hamstrings. Our typical stretch, I failed to bring a strap, but I'm going to use a towel rolled up, is that reclining hamstring stretch. Where we'll just simply lie back. But when we put this on the soles of our foot, at the same time we want to just keep this head of our femur that's resting in our hip socket as the only thing that's doing the moving. Now we're not trying to bear in and hold that femur in place, but when we begin to elevate the leg, flexing our foot, pressing into the strap or a towel like this, or you could even be using a belt. Just breathe and easy. Now for some people, bringing this other foot in and elevating the knee might feel better. Be willing to let yourself self-explore to find out what works good for you. Nice reclining hamstring stretch. Now we're not trying to again grip, bear into this and push, but just get a release and nice gentle stretch of that hamstring. Easy breath. You can also reach up with this other hand and just slightly bring that leg across the body just a little bit. Again, we're not letting this rear end lift up off the mat, but just simply letting the leg bone move to where it can in your hip. And then eventually, again, you could hold this longer, release down. And do the same thing the other side. Start here, leg elevating, foot flexed. Again, your other opposite leg can rest on the mat. You can walk that foot in. There's no real right or wrong. It just depends really on your body, what feels right. Nice gentle breath, pressing into the strap. Again, we're not trying to force and bear into it, but just create that sensation. Again, all through these movements, extending our leg up, legs up the wall, we just want to become more self-aware of how we feel, what's going on as we move around and about. Again, this can slightly come across the body as long as we're not getting that lift of the hip or the pelvis. Nice, calming, easy breath. Back to center. And then a nice release down. So that's that reclining hamstring stretch that we would typically do many times in a class situation. So again, this first part, we just kind of explored and looked at, well, what can we do to kind of help keep our feet healthy? Massage, balls, legs up the wall, heel pulses, relaxing, letting the legs settle into the hips. And then for the second part of this, we'll get a little more into the actual poses that we can do, that will focus on some of the twisting and also get into stretching our quadriceps in different ways, as long as your body allows you to. So keep that in mind. Very short kind of introduction and start to begin with. Second part again will be a little more poses and kind of just being self-aware again of how our body is moving. Thank you for this part 1.